I would describe it as being violent and also sarcastic.
The landscape in Malawi can be described as not leveled, in the sense that there are structural imbalances.
Most of the women that are aspiring to be honorary members of parliament, they get discouraged.
After trying to belong to a political party and my efforts to represent the party was not successful, so I was let down.
If you talk to political parties, they will tell you that in their constitutions, they are ensuring that there's gender balance, but that does not translate into the actual implementation of their own statutes. I think also the challenge comes in because there is no statutory law that will compel political parties then to follow their constitution.
Malawi hasn't fully accepted that women can participate in politics, that women can be leaders.
There are still some stereotypes that work against women's political leadership, but we also know that these things are driven by culture, they are driven by faith norms.
In addition to that, the issues of gender-based violence, issues of use of hate speech during campaign, that also makes a lot more women not to participate in politics. In fear that if I join politics, I'll be castigated, up against and things like those. So they tend to, leave it to men.
And then the campaign again has become horrible. People talk ill about you, all sorts of foul language against women, even inventing stories. Stories are completely wrong.
In short, what it means is that you have inferences or places where they will never accept a woman as a leader. So when you are starting a campaign or working on around all these issues, you are dealing with that background.
Our culture looks at a woman as someone who is supposed to be in the kitchen or at home taking care of children. So if you join politics, people have, different feelings about who you are. Your character is even questioned. They'll think that those women that are in politics are prostitutes. That's what they say.
The other issue about also attitudes, where people think that a woman leader will not be as good as a male leader. And this attitude is not just societal attitudes. We are also even talking about the political parties themselves. Do they trust women that they can be leaders?
There are so many things that should be done. First and foremost is to civic educate the masses.
I feel that if there are a lot of interventions from maybe the private sector, the NGOs, even from the Ministry of Gender, to make sure that capacity is built for more women to be able to, to stand, against all those challenges, I believe that more women can make it to Parliament.
The other thing that we need to do as a country is also to look at our laws, or even the policies. We should come up with deliberate policies or deliberate, legal frameworks that will assist the women aspire more. That will also assist the women to make sure that they get into those positions. I'll give an example. If one of the legal framework that I have in mind is if the government can come up with a law to state that each and every district should have at least one female MP or one seat that will be competed by females only. That also assists. So you will know that from start we'll have at least 28 female MPs at district level.
There should be a retention program. Of course, the last election, I think it was only Oxfam that worked with the present MPs. It's no use wanting more and more MPs, getting rid of the old MPs and new ones come. We'll always go backwards and forwards. But we're 40 now. We're 45, but we've gone down to 40. Let's try to retain those ones and then add more.
Just coming and paying for our nomination fees is not enough. As you know, an election is a process. It's not a one-day event. Now, because it is a process starts from the date that we voted into office. That's a date that we should have started working. It's not too late, but the longer we take, the more damage we're doing.
Because what you have to understand is when you're doing campaign, you don't just start a year or two before the actual voting time. You have to start, a month or two. You have to start 2 or 3 years before the voting time. So it has to be taken as a process. Even after elections have happened, you have to continue the program to make sure that those that have been elected, you are able to retain them, like the way Oxfam does it.
Issue of participation should start at the grassroots level. We do have political party branches, committees. In those committees, women should be encouraged to take part and to take positions. If they are able to take positions from grassroots level, then the participation will go up until to the national level. But if we fail to recognize this important participation at the grassroots level, it becomes very difficult for someone just to come up and represent at a national level.
Policy-wise, we have some legislation. We have the Gender Equality Act, which talks of 60-40 in the position. Unfortunately, it never went into Political Party Act. As a result, you find that under the framework, I would call the framework of political parties, you find that it becomes a problem. We're still depending on what I would call goodwill, political will of the leaders. We don't have what is called affirmative action or quotas.
And then we also have other gaps to do with the financial muscles of the women themselves. I think from the experience that we have had is that most of the times women don't have the financial resources which can enable them to put up effective campaigns. And then you also find that even the Mother Ministry of Gender itself, doesn't have enough resources to promote or to support women that want to contest.
Agencies should expose women who are already in the field. For instance, myself, if I'm given a space, if I'm given resources to mentor or to role model in our constituency to girls, to women, they will feel that indeed, I think this is not only a men thing.
Is these agencies should now have been advocating to get projects specifically for constituencies that have female members of parliament. Because if I had gone to the area that I said, because you're voting for a woman, the chances that you get a hospital here are high, but she knows how important it is to have a hospital. If I go back and build that hospital there, for sure, the people appreciate the difference of having a female member of parliament and a male member. But if all that doesn't happen, after 5 years, the constituents ask themselves, what has been different?
The problem which I've seen mostly is that agencies, they come towards elections.
And I think that is a general problem that has been there in Malawi, which people still need to look at. Because we have been approaching, right after the elections, as a movement, we have been approaching some donors to see how best they can support the 50-50 campaigns, the 50-50 work, so that one, the women that are there right now should be seen to be performing, yeah? And then two, that at the time that they are going back to the elections, people still retain them, and then there will be more women joining. Right now, it's not clear where these resources are being channeled to. And yet we have people like the Women's Manifesto Movement, we have Oxfam that have been working on the ground. We already know the issues, we already know what is supposed to happen. I think donors should also be looking out to such kind of institutions, such kind of organizations that would be able to perform effectively. Because sometimes we find that resources are channeled to other institutions that haven't really had the experience on the ground.
So I would want to thank Oxfam Malawi. This is the only organization that works with female parliamentarians at Malawi Parliament. Not even at Parliament only. If you see Oxfam, you will see Oxfam working with the Minister of Gender. You will see Oxfam even working with some organizations that, like the organization which the First Lady is running. if you see Oxfam, you will see Oxfam working even with other organizations, including the Women Parliamentary Caucus.
What we have done is really making sure that we are able to work with community agents that are key in terms of opinion making and opinion shaping. We are able to support them in terms of the discourse around women's political leadership in Malawi. And then when it comes to elections, we are actually able to support the women themselves, the aspirants and the candidates.
The moment you elect a female MP, there are certain issues that a female MP will address and not a male MP. I'm a woman, so I know what it means to have no water in the house, and unlike a man. And if you want to have a healthy nation, if you want to have a productive nation, you must start with water, because water is life. So that's my focus. And you see that even Oxfam has gone to various constituencies that are being led by women to have water structures there. And I can assure you, those women that have been helped with projects from Oxfam, I'm seeing them going back to Parliament because people have seen benefit.
They talked about issues of linking them to some micro projects that can support their ability to show their gender responsiveness. We are happy as Oxfam that we've been able to fundraise more than $50,000, if not $80,000 now, to support women with water systems. And I'm happy that this has happened in almost 14 constituencies. And as I speak now, 4 more constituencies are being supported with construction of water systems. That will bring us to 18, and we are still counting.
Development activities can also help in terms of retention. For instance, Oxfam has done East-based in terms of trying to help women to be visible in their communities. They've conducted activities, for instance, on trying to end violence against women and girls. And that also has an impact in as far as visibility is concerned. But also Oxfam has tried to drill some boreholes in other constituencies, like in my constituency, for example. They've done that. That's part of visibility, and people will appreciate that Liana is doing something.
Our reliable partner is Oxfam when you talk of issues of campaigning for the retention of women. They have come, I think, 2 times, if not 3, in my constituency to do the campaigns, the MVAG and the like. And I believe that they are making an impact. Because if you go in the areas now, the issue of having a woman, in a position is becoming more welcome than before.
So the uniqueness of the Oxfam approach is that it responds to the needs that the women are having. We support them with policy briefs for them to be able to engage in budgets, for them to be engaging in some bills that are anticipated on the floor. But we are also supporting them. That is now to do with the legislative and oversight role. We are also able to support them with the representational role by making sure that they are in touch with the communities to get the issues that the communities are talking about and be able to take them to inform budgets and policies. We can also show that there is actually a gender responsiveness that they are integrating in their work. That's why you have seen us go around together with partners, the Minister of Gender, the First Lady as our IPAS ambassador to these constituencies, so that people are able to remember that the women were there at times of need. When there was a spike in child marriage, we were able to go to the constituencies to launch the campaign and to support the women in terms of responding and getting back the learners to school.
My plea is to the other agents to emulate from Oxfam. What is it that Oxfam is doing to make sure that they retain the members of Parliament, to even attract more?
Oxfam stands out very strongly, and why? It's because as compared to the other supporters or the other players, it's that Oxfam is able to move with them from the time that they were campaigning pre-election up to post.
And also the challenge that we have to strategically work around is that of political parties. When we met at our retreat in 2020, February, one of the key issues that we noticed is that we can do what we can do, but political parties are really like the main drivers towards inclusion of women or their exclusion. And we had signposted this to the Ministry of Gender to making sure that they can work with the appropriate non-state actors and also engage the political parties, because they remain a driving force. We know that there are women that are standing as independents, but to a large extent, even those that stand as independents, they stand as independents because they've been marginalized from their political parties. So towards 2025, we think that is a core area that we should focus on in terms of how do we engage through the Ministry of Gender, through the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, through other players, to speaking with political parties so that we are not just talking from without, but we are talking from within.